Welcome to Living D-Free with Tamika Talks, where we focus on helping you live an authentic and financially free life, where you get to build your dreams. This unique show speaks specifically to Black women about money, while celebrating our strength, our culture, and our journey to financial freedom. Join me as we witness women and men leading us into the future. Living D-Free with Tamika Talks is a window into your best D-Free life. By embodying the D-Free way of living, gaining new tools to build a new future for yourself, and joining a community conversation where we share stories, learn, and invest in the future. Each episode explores topics from our quarterly magazine and includes interviews for people who, like you, are on their way to living their best lives. Tamika Talks is going to speak to women about our greatness, our success, our staying spiritually grounded, and remaining focused on our life's work. Living D-Free will take you on the road with me. You'll see where I've been, where D-Free has broken new ground, and how D-Free is helping others to get in the black. Welcome back to Living D-Free with Tamika Talks. I'm your host, Tamika, and I am so excited to have our next guest, Miss Jessica Brown, College Girl. This one is extra special to me, extra special. So tell us a little bit about who you are. Who is Jessica Brown? What is College Girl? What do you do?
So College Girl is Jessica Brown. I am a Howard University alum, class of 2012. I'm also the CEO of College Girl, the president of the College Girl Foundation, and the author of How to Pay for College When You Are Broke.
So what is College Girl? Tell us a little bit more about the movement, the book, the kind of work that you actually do.
So College Girl educates students and families all around America to make the best informed decisions around financing a post-secondary education. As we know, student loan debt is more than credit card debt in America at $1.3 trillion. So it is critical for us to begin to find innovative ways to begin to strategically plan for college.
So how did you go from Howard to College Girl? Like you went from being a college girl to being College Girl.
I started off in the church, and Pastor Stories gave me my platform and every Sunday on Youth Sunday speaking scriptures to the church, and that gave me my public speaking platform. As time went on, Pastor started my D-Free, and I began watching him and admiring him about how he was educating people all around America on how to begin to gain generational wealth. And when I saw him do that, and I started to think of the things that I was doing in terms of helping students find resources for college, I said to myself, well, I could be just like Pastor too, and I can write a book that will help students and families understand how to be financially literate in the college space.
So, you've gone from being in traditional work settings to now working on your own. Explain to us what that journey was like becoming a girl boss. How did this happen?
So post-graduating from school, I took my first job in financial aid at Strayer University. That's when I really began to learn about financial aid. Financial aid was never a job that I thought I would ever do because I hate math and I hate numbers. However, as I began to learn about how great I was in conveying the information, I began to see that I had a niche. So at that point, I applied to Howard to see how I can give back to my fellow Bisons that were coming up under me to give them the resources that we never had. So I was able to go back to Howard and work and provide scholarships for so many students. And then after Howard is when I was able to start College Girl.
So what's the biggest lesson you've learned in doing all of this? Whether it's College Girl or writing the book, what's the biggest thing that you've learned in this process?
I think in both capacities is patience, which is something I lack. Because if there's something that I want and it's a goal, it's a dream of mine, I want it today. I want to figure out all 25 steps in one day to get it done. However, life doesn't work like that. The 25 steps are going to come over time. There are going to be lessons that come with those steps that are going to prepare you for the next step. So my biggest lesson that I learned was just having patience, especially even on the financial aid side of things. You have to have patience when finding money. You have to be patient when trying to follow up with people to see what resources are possibly available for you.
You talked about your biggest lesson. How did you take your gift and what you knew from your experience at Howard and transition that into a business and actually monetize it? How did you make money doing what you're doing?
So once I saw Pastor making money off selling books, I said I could make money off selling books too. So at that point is when I started to write books and began writing and figure out how I could really capitalize off this information. Because if you're telling me student loan debt is more than credit card debt in America, this is an epidemic. And this is a market that's really not tapped into, because you're telling me there's all these different businesses that talk about borrowing loans or getting into college, but there's not one telling you how to pay for it from the beginning to the end. So that's how I figured out how I could really capitalize off this opportunity and help students around even the world. Because when you think about it, essentially many students who are immigrants, they don't get aid at all. They don't qualify for any type of federal aid that the government will provide. So therefore, they're solely living off of resources and scholarships and aid. So when I saw that there was a market for that, that's when I just jumped in.
So you have to tell me about this title, like How to Pay for College When You're Broke. How did you come up with this?
Well, everybody's broke, at least claiming broke for the most part, or who wants to pay $40,000 a year times 4 years, So that's how I kind of came up with the title, How to Pay for College When You're Broke, especially that knowing that college is so expensive. It doesn't matter how much your parents make, how much money you have saved. That is a $200,000 investment at minimum, depending on where you go. So that's kind of how I came up with the title. My mom made it clear, you're broke and I'm the one with the money and I have to retire, so you have to figure it out. So that's how I came up with the title.
So I have to tell you, I know, African Americans, we're a unique group of people. Like, we just do things differently. We're just a little bit special. Tell me something that you've noticed, if you've noticed anything, that African Americans do differently in terms of strategizing for paying for college.
We have a unique population of students, that are very, very smart. I think one thing that sets us back and hinders us is our self-entitlement. We feel like we're so entitled to funds. We're so entitled to this money that the school is going to give us because, this is my child. They're a star, but whose child isn't a star,
right.
Whose child hasn't been working hard from the beginning. And I think sometimes us as African Americans community specifically is that we are relying on other people to pay our way instead of figuring out a way for us to pay ourselves.
So what tips would you have for me as a parent preparing to send my kid to college? Like, let's say baby Zell was getting ready to go to Spelman. What would you tell me?
It takes a village to get to college and to stay in college, to matriculate and graduate. So I would advise your child to sit down with you and your child begin to figure out what are their interests. Your interests will allow you to figure out what program you should enroll in. That program will allow you to see what schools are available for you. So that is my biggest first tip, because a lot of times the parent and the student aren't having that conversation. The parent thinks that the student wants to be a doctor when really they want to be a hairdresser. And if they want to be a hairdresser, why would you put them in $200,000 worth of debt if this is really their dream? There are other fields out there that America still needs, and that are still very profitable. So that would be my first biggest tip, is to family plan, your strategy. Then that'll allow you as a parent to figure out, okay, if we found this program, this is how much this program is, this is how much I may personally need to contribute. That will allow you to begin to figure out what you need to budget, what you need to save in order to make that happen for your child.
I love it. So last but not least, of course, people are going to want to find out more about College Gurl. Where should they go to find you? Where are you? What's your details?
Stay in touch with College Gurl at College Gurl JB, and of course the girl is spelled with a U. Additionally, Facebook, Instagram. My website is collegegirl.com. My book, of course, is How to Pay for College When You're Broke. And those are just different avenues to stay in touch with me. Send me a DM. I'm very personable. I'd love to answer any questions you may have.
Well, Jessica, it's truly been a pleasure to have you on the show. It's been very exciting. I'm so proud of your journey. It's been great being with you today. And keep watching Living D-Free with Tamika Talks. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Living D-Free with Tamika Talks. I'm your host, Tamika, and I have the pleasure of talking to one of our lovely D-Free interns, Miss Bria Smallwood. Hi, Bria.
Hi.
So I'm really excited to talk to you. One, not just because you're a D-Free intern, but because you have an amazing D-Free testimony that I can't wholeheartedly attribute to you, but we'll get into that in a second. So tell everyone a little bit about who Bria is.
I am a college student. I'm attending William Patterson University. I am a digital marketing major.
Okay.
And I'm a D-Free intern.
I love it. What are your plans after graduation?
The goal is to go to grad school.
Okay.
My main concern is figuring out how I'm going to pay for that. So I might have to go to work first. I might have to work while I'm doing it, but I do want to go back to grad school.
Excellent. So, I mean, as I mentioned, you have the privilege of graduating with your bachelor's degree without any student loan debt. Come on, give her a virtual round of applause for that. I don't know how you did it, but thank God for your parents. How did they actually use the D-Free principles to save up to pay for your college education?
Budget. Budget and saving and investing. I know that they've been saving for college since the womb for me and for my sisters and everything. So it's like they were prepared. They have a budget. They know what they're going to spend every time. They spend it, and then that's it.
Wow. So your parents clearly are the epitome of the dfree family if they've been saving since you were born. I mean, that's something that we really encourage people to do, but it's really, really hard. So much so that studentloanhero.com says that Americans are on pace to have $1.48 trillion in student loan debt by the time we finish. But you'll get to begin your adult life without any student loan debt. But talk to us a little bit about how you think your adult life is going to be different since you get to walk out into the world without any student loan debt.
All I can say is I'm very blessed. It's almost a little bit of pressure. I have to keep up with this now, so it's almost like I've never been allowed to use credit cards or anything like that. So I know when I graduate and when I get on my own, I'm expected to be on my own for real. So I mean, I'm blessed. I'm looking forward to it, but I have to figure it out. I have a lot of good role models in my life, a lot of good people I can turn to and ask good questions and figure out, where I'm going and how to move and how to keep myself under control. So,
are you afraid
what?
of becoming an adult and actually walking into the world? Because I mean, it's interesting to be surrounded by people who always talk about these things that you've never experienced. Is there, you mentioned the pressure, but is there any fear of like credit and debt or anything like that?
Yeah, I feel like I'm always thinking, let's do it in cash. So everything I do buy for myself, it's just, there's never been a payment plan or anything like that. I'm nervous for the day that I have to go and buy myself a car, and I'm going to be like, I want to pay it all right now, but I know I won't be able to. I want to buy a house, and I have a 30-year mortgage. That scares me a lot, but I don't know. I feel like I've been sheltered almost because I've never had to. I've heard stories of my friends whose parents put bills in their name and stuff, and their credit starts off low, and I'm like, I don't have any credit. So, I'm just trying to just figure that out for myself is a bit of a challenge.
Well, I will say this. Don't be fearful. Be encouraged by the fact that you don't have to deal with those things, and you really do have a fresh, clean start. Do you think you apply any dfree principles in your life right now? You talked about living on cash.
So, I mean, saving is a big part of my life. I want to get into investing, but that's for a later date. I'll have to figure that out.
Got it. So anything else you want to share with our viewers or listeners? I know your testimony, it may seem odd to you, but it's really encouraging for us to hear of you being probably one of the first of many generations who are able to walk out into the world without debt. Anything encouraging to share with your peers who may not be in that situation?
Break the cycle. Figure it out. There's nothing to it really but to do it. I don't have advice for it because I don't have to do it, but I know if it doesn't stop here, it'll just continue.
Excellent.
Join dfree.
Well, Bria, clearly you've learned something being in dfree, even though you don't necessarily have to live it on your own. We're excited for you. We're proud of you. And I'm so excited to have you on Living dfree with Tamika Talks. You guys have heard it straight from Bria Smallwood's mouth. Go do it. There's nothing to it but to do it. Break the cycle and really look forward to having a financial future. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Living dfree with Tamika Talks, and we'll see you next time.